What is going on, everybody? It's episode 827 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. We're always just like having the most interesting conversation 30 seconds before we have to go live, and then it gets cut off. Unfortunately, we cannot invite you to join that one. It was not YouTube friendly.
It was definitely not
Is
YouTube
that
friendly.
phrase not YouTube friendly?
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't want to direct anyone to searching things on the internet that should not be searched. Anyway, we have Phil joining us.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains, and I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary, and I have not.
Okay. All right.
We have not
done the thing we were talking about before we went live.
We're not talking about that,
Yeah.
and Phil hasn't done it, so that's all that needs to be said.
You can ask if you want, but there will be no
I was wondering
answers.
if you had put Left Lane is for Crime to rest in your...
No, that's
the
that's
outro.
the outro.
Oh, okay.
But
Did you... Brett,
yes,
I did.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
He did. Brett was a wonderful human being and got me a Left Lane is for Crime
Yeah.
shirt, and I am super appreciative. It was one of the sweetest gifts ever.
I found, so we were, I mentioned this last week, we were driving, must have been, we were driving into Frederick for something, and I saw a little Mini Cooper had a sticker on the side of its window that said the left lane is for crime. And I said, that indicates to me that there is other merch involving this phrase.
Yeah. Who came up with it, though? Because I know it wasn't Phil.
Yeah, I don't know. Phil, where did you hear it first?
I don't know, but it wasn't me. I can't take ownership of
Despite the
Sorry,
fact
you
that
can't make money off of this.
I do believe that, though I have heard other people say it in a similar time frame, I do think Mary came up with PDF file.
I did. I literally did.
Yeah.
Nobody said PDF file before I was saying it. I popularized that. I stand by that. That was I coined that term. I don't know if that's something to be proud of.
Yeah.
Because that just means that I'm talking about disgusting things online and like I have to self-censor so that we can still make money off of it.
Thanks, YouTube.
But I take credit for that 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Guys, we got a bunch of stuff to get into today, but before we get started, would you hit the like button on this video? Please go ahead, like it right now. Go ahead. I'm going to stop. Hit the like button right now. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. Please and thank you. Remember to share these episodes, these live streams, the segments out with your friends and your family, everyone you know. The more people that you share the content with, the faster this channel can grow.
I'm so pleased because I just checked our
Spotify?
ratings on Spotify once again. We're now at 864, and weren't we at 830 yesterday?
That sounds right.
Am I losing my mind? But yeah, we're at 864 ratings on Spotify.
Nice.
Still at a 4.5 because you just aren't willing to commit all the way to the 5 stars. But
working
it's fine.
our way to 1,000.
I want us to get to over 1,000 ratings on Spotify total. So even if you're not a listener and you tend to tune in on YouTube, go over to our Spotify and give us a rating.
Come on.
Please go ahead and do that. Guys, do it. All right, what are we getting into today? Well, the upcoming Harry Potter television show that is going to be playing on HBO Max has its shares of controversies. Certainly, we're going to be talking about some today and tomorrow. But lead actor, by that I mean the lead Snape actor, Papa Esiadu, has come into conflict with series creator, with book creator J.K. Rowling, as he has signed an open letter supporting trans rights in the UK. So we're going to get into that because it calls into question, you know, first of all, why would you take a role in a series created by such a notorious, what they label, you know, transphobic person?
Oh, because they'll like the dollars
Yes.
or the
Right,
pounds.
right.
I like the idea that he wanted to crater the show, and he knew that a race swap Snape would be bad. So
This
he's
was
actually
his plan all
he's
along.
yeah, he's on the inside. So we're going to talk about that. Also, OnlyFans creator Sophie Rain wants you to know that God is on her side, and that
Good Lord.
that's literally what it is. We're going to talk about it. So we're going to discuss that. Also, there's this mom out there bragging on TikTok and whatnot about how the best way to parent your kids is by having no rules for your kids whatsoever. What could go wrong, the world asked in
The
shock.
only rule is that there are no rules.
Okay. So
Gentle parenting 101.
with that, we've got a bunch of other
Gentle
stuff to get
parenting.
into. Mary, you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Phil?
Yeah, if we must.
Let's go.
So obviously there is still this ongoing conversation about Justin Bieber. his career trajectory, what's going on with him behind the scenes such that he appears to be losing it in the public eye. And I want to direct our attention to a girl who was once predicted to be the female Justin Bieber. She was actually discovered by Justin Bieber himself when he was a teenager. He reposted one of her song covers from YouTube and directed the attention of his manager, Scooter Braun, over to her. And that is how her career in music began 13 years ago. Her name is Madison Beer. I believe we have talked about her on the show before. But she is definitively a mid-tier pop star. She is not a globally known household name. And comparing her to a peer like Sabrina Carpenter, her career is just not taken off in the same way.
And this article is basically like, let's discuss why you're not as popular as the other people you grew up with.
Yeah, literally, there is an ongoing discourse about why Madison Beer is a flop and like why is her career such a failure when she has everything going for her, including, of course, being gorgeous and having a good voice and all the backing of the industry.
Backhand full of knuckles with that compliment.
Yeah. So she sat down for this interview with Cosmopolitan recently because she is about to release a new album and she's doing promotion for it. But the focal point of the interview wasn't really her album. It was about all of the terrible experiences that she's had in the industry thus far, starting out at 12 years old. And also asking the obvious question, the elephant in the room, why aren't you famous when you had all of these advantages, especially being discovered so young by Scooter Braun, who is a star maker. But I think that this points to a similar dispute behind the scenes that she probably had with Scooter Braun. She is still friends with Justin Bieber and Haley, his wife, to this day, and they still talk. And I believe that she's in a similar position where she's not able to speak out against Scooter Braun. As a lot of people speculate, Justin Bieber is in the same position. But they say in this article, in 2012, Justin Bieber shared 13-year-old Madison's YouTube cover of Etta James at Last, and his then manager, Scooter Braun, then signed her. And what follows is the leaking of nude photos taken when Madison was 15, relentless cyberbullying, sexual assault, diagnoses of borderline personality disorder, OCD, and depression. Madison says she was forced to make music she didn't believe in, and she also was dropped from her label and split from Scooter Braun later on. She basically had a moment in her career where she was dropped by her entire team at the age of 16 out of nowhere. And the reason for that isn't just because she wasn't hitting the same success they expected her to. There was more to it than that. And it's because there are a lot of creeps in the music industry, and they were creepy toward her.
She avoided the couch?
I hope so, but you never know.
Good for you.
Can I aside for a second? Phil, what do you think about the idea when she says she was forced to make music she doesn't believe in?
I mean, I don't know. I genuinely don't know, like, if she just, if her management or her label were like, these are the songs you're going to do. I mean, that's totally possible, but I feel like the artist always has some kind of input, you know, again, and you know, I don't come from the pop world. I come from a world where, you know, we wrote all of our own stuff for like the vast majority of our career. There were times where we worked with different producers on some stuff, but we always had the final say. And I guess maybe in the pop world you don't.
Seems like it would be more rigid, and then they would be expected to follow the brand that they want rather than the individuality that comes from something like what you were doing.
Could be.
Yeah.
It could be, yeah.
Well, she was also a child, so
Yeah.
she didn't even have that much self-determination in the first place.
Yep.
But they ask about the early years of her career and what happened when you parted ways with your first record label and manager, Scooter Braun. She said, the same day my manager dropped me, my lawyer dropped me, and my label dropped me. Everything in my life went away within 12 hours.
She got like 3 text messages in a row that all said, like, is that what happened?
I was 16 and my label was like, good luck.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you guys just stole years of my childhood that I'll never get back.
That I do not agree.
Yeah.
She says, I can't go to college because I've been homeschooled. I have a high school degree and nothing else because of my career.
Why couldn't you go to
Why
college?
can't you go to
because went-
college?
were homeschooled?
Believe it or not, everybody else that goes to college
Yeah.
also usually only has a high school diploma
She's
when they go
throwing
to
a
college.
little bit of a pity party, but this part was the truly disturbing part. They ask, were you given a reason for all of this? And she said, I hadn't been successful enough. There was a conversation around me when I was 14. People being like, quote, she's too sexy and we can't sell the sex because she's so young, so we have to wait.
Did read that.
This was a real conversation.
Yeah.
Grown men talking about how I was too sexy. I was 14.
Well, I mean, look,
Yikes.
was
Big
she,
yikes, as the kids would say.
But the question, so who was the person that was modeling her image? Was she doing it herself? Because if she was doing it herself, there should have been someone that stepped in and said, hey, you're dressing too much like an adult. You're behaving too much like an adult. You're not old enough to do that. You should tone this stuff down because it isn't acceptable. Now, granted, dude saying she's too sexy, like that sounds like someone saying, hey, you're pushing. I don't know how they delivered it, and I don't know the context, but people that are automatically saying, oh, that's gross. It's like, well, maybe they're saying, hey, whatever she's doing is unacceptable for her age.
But to me, it sounds like from the way she put it, they wanted to sell her as a sex symbol, but they saw it as an inconvenience that she was a child.
Well, I mean,
that was just
if that's the case, then that's
a hindrance to making more money off of her, is that she was too young to sell as a sex symbol.
You know what it reminds me of is like last year when we covered like Lil Tay making a new song, and I'm like, why is she dressed like that? She's like 14.
Yeah, that was weird.
Isn't that the girl that was just throwing around the N-word all over the place?
When she was like 9 years old,
Yeah.
and then people said her older brother was the one masterminding all of it and giving her lines to say when she didn't understand what was going on.
Plain awful.
Super weird. So to me, and my biases against the type of people who are executives in the music industry, the entertainment industry in general, I assume the worst, which is that they were sexualizing her and they wanted to take it further, but saw her age as an obstacle to doing that in just terms of making money off of her.
In sleazy industry terms, they're like, could you come back in like 2 years
Yeah.
when we can officially manipulate you? And
That's gross. Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then it is.
But her
gross.
parents also, you're right, should have stepped in at that point.
If you're a child performer, you need to have people that are your advocate, and that you can actually trust. Even like whether it be a parent, a manager, or whatever, someone has to step in and say, "Hey, the stuff you're doing is inappropriate for your age."
Yeah.
Like, and to be flat out honest with you, you can be like, "Look, you got 4 years, and you can do all the stuff like this that you want, but right now you can't."
Well, some of the time, maybe most of the time, I feel like it's kind of out of your hands, because when you look back at all of these moments from Justin Bieber's career as a young teenager in the industry, he was sexualized against his will, and he openly said that it made him uncomfortable. He was constantly sexualized by adults around him, both men and women. He was asked about his sex life. I don't know, like if at that point he even had one.
Like on the interview circuits when he was very young.
And then openly like groped and kissed on stage by Jenny McCarthy at an award show. And you look back at all of these clips, it makes perfect sense why he feels so strongly about protecting younger artists like Billie Eilish, who are at a similar level of fame.
There's no boundary with the adults in Hollywood, so it's not hard to imagine that they wouldn't extend those same boundaries to kids, even though to us it seems like completely natural to put boundaries into place. But it's like, how many times do you see an interview with some old ass hag celebrity and they will like, this is what their life is like in the bedroom? It's like, nobody wants to know about that.
We should all know less about each other.
I want to know less about what you're doing in the bedroom, dude.
Right. Yeah. And then the only other statement I could find from Madison Beer talking about her time working under Scooter Braun's management was her saying her years with Scooter Braun were of the, quote, "Oh, you don't have a say, you don't know what you're talking about, little girl" variety. And then a couple of years ago in 2023, she wrote this song, released this song on her album called King of Everything that everyone speculated was a diss about Scooter Braun, but she never spoke out and said that that's who it was about. It was just heavily implied, and even Hailey Bieber openly implied that it was about Scooter Braun, which also leads me to believe that's more evidence that Justin Bieber has a private dispute with him behind the scenes. And I'm sure Justin Bieber feels partially responsible for basically putting on Madison Beer at the time.
I mean, it's the same
when
thing
she
that
was
happened,
like literally 13.
It's the same thing that happened when he talked about wanting to protect Billie Eilish, right?
Yes.
I mean, he would feel that for all the music industry has given him, attempting to bring anyone into that industry could be to their own detriment to an extreme extent.
I want to show this reel that I recently saw from a small artist who allegedly recorded a phone call with a music executive. Now, I think it's ridiculous to frame it as women in the music industry go through this because of everything I just said about Justin Bieber. But she's basically recording what sounds like a phone call with a music executive who's trying to force her to sexualize her image.
I mean, it says literally #feminism.
Right.
So we'll take it with a grain of salt.
No one at the level you're trying to get to is going to care about these little projects you're making. The fact that you have big and can play guitar, that's pretty important. Stop everything. Go in the studio with some songwriters who will write you a hit. You don't need to write on the record. You don't need to produce on it. Just let them do their thing and let go of all this other creative vision stuff that's wasting our time. No.
Like, I kind of respect the honesty, but it's also
It's like that.
sad.
There was like this storyline in the show Roswell where the one girl goes and like wants to become a musician, and she gets like a record deal and is shocked to find out that they don't want her to perform the music that she wants to play. They want her to do pop music. She's like, but I want to play the guitar. They're like, yeah, well, that's not really what we do here.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why Taylor Swift has had such a successful career is because she was willing to kind of morph into what the music industry needed at the time. That's how she evolved so seamlessly from being a country artist into a mainstream pop artist.
Do you think that she didn't you think that she didn't want to do that?
I think she's okay with kind of being brand friendly, and a lot of artists see that as an affront to their creative vision, as they were putting it in that clip. Who knows if that was even a real phone call? Or it was just an attention
something about
grab.
it feels very created to me.
Felt a little bit fake, but the point stands. And I wonder if Madison Beer, along with a lot of other artists who are managed by Scooter Braun, are going to speak out in more detail about their experiences with him, because they're trying to make him out to be a supervillain.
We'll have to wait and see. All right, let's move on. It gets worse, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, TikTokers are turning to extremes for clout, such as torturing themselves on camera. And I don't even know. I feel weird about even saying this.
Before we get too deep into this, I want to say that maybe if people are torturing themselves and they're on TikTok, I'm okay with it.
You're okay with it?
Maybe. It depends. But it depends. I just want to throw this out there.
So as long as they're not hurting anybody else, leave them be.
The true libertine position is like, look, he who waterboards himself is okay as long as he doesn't do it to someone
everybody
else.
loved Jackass. Everybody loved Bam Margera when he got hit in the balls.
Point being, they are waterboarding themselves. They actually are, placing towels on their head with the phone pointed at them in the bathtub and pouring buckets of water over their faces for likes. That's what they're doing.
Waterboarding on Guantanamo Bay sounds sick until you really think about it.
Look, and the difference between the difference between doing it to yourself or having your friends doing it and being in a CIA black site where a CIA operative is doing it to you is there's miles and miles of difference, because your friend will stop.
Yeah.
The CIA operative isn't going to stop until you tell him all the
Where's the terrorist, Bill?
Like, you're
this
not.
is more like a self-inflicted hazing ritual.
So this is just like, kick me in the balls, film it, and everyone's going to laugh about it. That's literally what it is. So
but did kids watch Bam Margera and try to do it at home?
Of course they did.
Because it was just like,
what do you think backyard wrestling is?
At least when that show was out, they always put disclaimers at the beginning that were like, don't do this at home.
Don't do this, and don't send us videos of you doing this. But you know what? Kids still made videos for their friends of them doing it.
But it was
absolutely.
Like, wink,
absolutely.
wink, nudge, nudge. Like,
Yes.
we all know
okay,
that this is
so
only going to encourage kids to do it more.
25 years of skating, you had to put a disclaimer at the front of every video that you released.
Yeah.
But did you have an actual fear that you would get sued for?
No, it was more like at that point. I don't know if I ever actually believed you were going to get. You were more likely to get sued for the music you were using illegally than you were from somebody like my joke was always like
It's
every time you
fine.
get kicked out of a skate spot, they're like you can't be here because you could sue. I always wanted to be the one who actually did it and made like a fortune off suing a place for me being stupid and getting hurt skating on property.
Perfectly.
How the hell could someone sue Brett Dasovic when they try to do the same trick on camera that you did on camera?
I have no idea.
And they
but
can try to like extort you for money.
I guess.
You
I don't know what money you're going to get from me, but
If someone attacks you and you shoot them and they don't die, they can sue you.
It's a
even though
crazy, litigious
they
world.
shot you. But yes, you can absolutely be sued for injuring someone when they attack you.
well, it's like when they say when somebody talks about money and they're like, "This is not financial advice."
Right. Yeah,
Right?
they always say that. Well, TikTokers are providing no such disclaimers and are openly posting videos of themselves getting waterboarded.
Here, let's watch one of them.
Like this
I mean,
one.
the first thing I thought here was he was going to do the Ashton Hall, but I didn't see a Saratoga
He's
water bottle.
smiling.
No banana
He's
peels.
not scared.
It's that time. Cool. Wait, let me slap this on because my hair's still semi-fresh.
I mean, that's because he's from the UK, right? He's an
Again.
American would be doing this to someone else.
Yeah.
Let them do this. It's fine.
Like, I'm going to waterboard myself, but I can't mess up my
Okay,
hair.
my toxic trait is anytime you watch the scene in the movie where they put the cloth over someone's face and they do that, I'm like, I want to try it.
There's like a little part of you
That
that,
wants to try-
do
yeah.
Look,
this.
it sucks.
Like-
it does.
Well, if you do, then film it.
and
Plus, the whole point is that they do it, and then you can't catch your breath, and then they immediately do it again.
Yeah,
They're not
like-
immediately doing it again.
Yeah.
and also
You're not
like,
Geneva Conventioning right.
they're turning you turn your head up a little bit. You keep your
Yeah.
lungs above your body so that way your lungs don't actually fill up.
Oh,
so
right.
the point of it is to make you feel like
Panic.
you're choking
Yeah.
and get the panic without actually filling your lungs with water. Like, this is fine. Let them be stupid.
In the video, he does say, don't try this at home, but
Well, you know, that's responsible torturing of oneself.
then you see all the comments, and it's a bunch of Zoomers saying that they want to try it at home, and they don't think that it would be a big deal, and it looks fun.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, have someone you don't know that doesn't like you one bit and thinks you're hiding something do it, and then it's a whole different experience. This is fine. They can
See,
again, it's kicking each other in the balls.
Could any of them do the one, the one where they lock you in the room with the bright lights and the loud sounds? Do that one. That one would be more user friendly for the
Even
internet.
still, if you do it to yourself,
Yeah.
as long as you're doing it to yourself.
See, okay, you know who we need to
that's
bring.
the thing. It's like it's not torture when you're doing it to
So
yourself.
what we'll end up getting is the one I just suggested. You lock somebody in a room with loud sounds for however many hours. Mr. Beast will be like 100 people locked in a room.
like, IRL streamers have done that
Yeah.
many times. That's not a new thing at all. They have tortured themselves in a number of ways. Here's another example of a streamer letting his chat Chinese water torture him for donations. It says on the screen, 3 bits equals 1 drop. So I guess it corresponds with how much you're paying him.
Yeah, here we go.
That one went up my nose a little bit.
Again, these things are
This is
whatever.
thought I was gonna stream Rocket
It's
League.
fine.
It's kind of like it.
It's fine.
You're
I
not
need
gonna
to
kill
know
me.
what the setup is.
I just breathed it in a little. It's fine.
See, it's fine. I told you. He said
A
it's
little
fine.
cold, dude.
It's
That's
fine.
it.
Okay.
So
It's
he's putting on a brave face.
It's fine.
But it's more about the humiliation of it all, right? That's
Yeah.
what people want.
They want to watch what you're willing to do to get a $5 donation.
I saw people comparing this to an episode from the recent season of Black Mirror called Common People. And here is the synopsis. A welder and a school teacher who are trying to conceive a baby. The wife suffers a medical emergency due to a brain tumor, and the husband signs her up for Rivermind, a high-tech system that promises to keep her alive but comes with escalating subscription costs. And as fees increase, they struggle to keep up, leading to the wife's quality of life deteriorating. She experiences sleep deprivation and involuntary advertisement speech, which almost costs her her teaching job.
Well, that's like the meme that they had when Neuralink was first being discussed. They're like imagining like you have it in your brain and like your Yahoo keeps trying to get you to re-log in and you have to sit there and blink as you're logging back in constantly.
Yeah. I wouldn't say we're quite at Black Mirror territory with this because none of these streamers or TikTokers are under duress to do this. They're doing this of their own volition.
Yeah, this
because
is
they have
big
no
deal.
self-respect or scruples.
Yeah.
But I looked through this Daily Mail article about the waterboarding trend on TikTok, and it appears that TikTok is taking measures to make sure this content is censored or removed from the platform, because every single hyperlinked video that they listed here, I tried to look for it, and they're all taken down. They're all gone except for the one that we just showed you, because they're worried in their TOS that this is going to encourage people to do life-threatening risks on themselves, including children.
The next time Tim tells you that TikTok is evil, be like, "What do you mean? They took down the waterboarding videos? Look, they tried to stop people.
They have their limits.
They tried to stop people from hurting themselves."
Yeah, so I think it's more so that TikTok is, of course, worried about the liabilities.
Of course,
because they also had the Subway Surfers trend of children actually hopping on top of subway trains and trying to run on it like the video game.
Yep.
And someone died. I think at least one child died from doing so. And like there were injuries. So the liabilities were just too much for them to ignore it.
Also, there's so many videos of like not videos, but there's so many like stories of influencers like hanging off balconies to get selfies and then they fall off the balcony.
Yeah, those like videos, I guess they call them like parkour videos, where they're like on the top of the Empire State Building or whatever.
This is not the people who do that as
terrify me.
The ones who do it as a sport, right? That's okay. So I've actually talked about this here. As somebody who has done a sport that's dangerous for 25 years, it's been interesting to see where society finds the limit for those types of things. So most of the thing, whether it's skating, BMX, blading, snowboarding, skateboard, whatever, like people watch and like, oh, that's cool, depending on the size of the risk. But you look at the videos of the dudes who hop on the on like the top of like a building and they run from one pillar to the next. All the comments are like, your mom loves you, go home. Like, why are you they don't see that as like a risk versus reward that anybody should actually take. But to the parkour people and the free runners, it's absolutely, to them, it's about conquering fear. And to them, you're never gonna get it, but they don't really care if you get it. It's what they do.
I don't know. I feel like it kind of selects for sociopaths, though, who already don't have any risk aversion.
It is one of those things where, like most of the other sports, there's a risk of serious injury or death if something goes really, really wrong. But that's calculated risk. Whereas what they're doing, the calculated risk on the roof of a skyscraper is not the same as like jumping from the first story of a building to the ground when you know you can take an impact of that size. It's a completely different thing. You will die 100% of the time that you miss.
Yeah, they're just adrenaline junkies, I think.
I always thought it was interesting. I can't say that I don't respect their ability to take the risk, but I wouldn't want to be their parents. But I wouldn't want to be their parents, that's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of the times the comments are saying they're doing it because they're white. They're like, white people don't care about their lives.
Well, you know, they're like, you know, it's it's like the opposite. Have you ever seen the movie like Falling Down? It's like Falling Down, but for yourself. Instead of society saying that it doesn't care about you and you going on a rampage, you put nobody at risk but you and whoever might be on the ground level of whatever skyscraper you're in when you fall.
But to conclude, I don't think that anyone trying to waterboard themselves for a TikTok is actually risking their life at all. Like, it's only supposed to be a form of psychological torture, so there's no risk of actually dying or injuring yourself through this.
Again, if you're doing it to yourself, you have control over when it stops. So therefore, it's not torture. The whole torturous, terrifying thing about it is someone that's really mad at you that you're trying to resist is doing this. And the point is, I'm going to keep doing this until you break.
Yeah, the problems arise when other people are involved.
Yeah, this is fine. Let them kick themselves in the nuts.
All right. What would you like to see? Cringe or cute of the day?
Always cringe.
Always cringe first. All
This
right.
is a Dean Withers cringe.
All right, here we go.
He has an anxiety pen.
Let me tell you this: you come into these debates with a very closed mind. Like you don't come in here like open to like hearing other people's thoughts.
Okay, you said
All
one
right, buddy,
thing
you're
so far
not.
that's
You're not.
relevant.
Hold on, you're not slick, buddy. I see the schmeal. You're not slick.
You said one. You
You're-
said one. You said one thing that so far that's relevant. Is that
Ripping
you-
the
is that
schmeal.
you don't believe that. It's an anxiety pin, you freak.
What flavor are you? What flavor are you ripping, bro?
Lavender and caramel.
What?
I don't know what
Right.
that is.
Chamomile?
It's a fucking anxiety pin.
What is an anxiety pen?
A vape, I'm guessing.
That's what they're calling it
Anxiety
now.
pen. Yeah, dude, I got one too.
Are you laughing because you're uncomfortable?
Dude, I have an anxiety pen too, bro. It's no shame. Are you more of a geek or crave?
We're gonna go back to what I said.
What did I just watch?
This is what Zoomers are doing. They're doing TikTok debates and ripping their anxiety pens that are lavender or caramel
So
or
was it a joke?
chamomile flavored.
Dean Withers is in the comments saying the fact that that there's not a single conservative in the replies of this tweet that can clearly understand that this is a joke is so effing funny to me.
Sure, dude.
I don't know who Dean Withers is.
You haven't seen him before?
No.
Wait, I could be getting it wrong, but wasn't Dean Withers here at one point
I
for
have no
Culture War
idea.
or something?
Oh, so he's like a political commentator?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he said there's not. He said in the replies there's not one conservative, so he definitely comes down somewhere.
Yeah.
With
He's a liberal TikToker who does
Not-
live debates like this.
who does cringe.
Not to be
Yeah.
confused with the excellent actor Dean Winters, who was in the underrated show
We would
Sorry,
not.
Battle Creek,
We
and
would
he's
not
also
confuse him.
Mayhem in the commercials. All right.
If he hasn't been here for Culture War, he absolutely should. That would be gold.
All right, let's do cute of the day.
Please.
Phil, they're
Aw.
requesting you on this one. It says Peter Picklebottom and Princess Euphemia v. Britannia after a well-deserved nap. Phil, please rate my cat's names 1 to 10.
Oh, the names?
Yeah.
It's Peter Picklebottom, and what was the other
Princess Euphemia, is that the 6th?
one? Peter Picklebottom is like 8 or 9 of 10, but Princess Euphemia, that doesn't even break a 5. That's like 4 or 5. But
Okay.
Peter Picklebottom is actually that's a perfect name for a
That's
cat.
so
They look very
cute.
happy.
They love each
The-
other.
the-
Your cats are never going to love
The
each other
kitties
like
in
this.
our home will never. This will never happen in our home.
No.
Like Mocha and Chloe, whenever they get within this close to each other, they hiss at one another. And whenever Toast gets that close to each other, Chloe swipes and Mocha runs away.
Cats are just little furry bags of knives and pins and needles.
You're going to look at that photo and say that? Seriously?
Absolutely.
They look so
I like the videos of
sweet.
the cats and the dogs on the horses.
Okay, we
Cats,
have a
cats have killed. Cats are responsible for the extinction of hundreds, if not thousands, of species.
Wow, sounds important.
That's
to
their
cut-
job.
to-
They're doing a service
sounds
to
like a
humanity.
conservation win to me.
Okay, we have a
That's
couple
me.
of 20s. 420 Funny said, didn't think things from my time in GWOT would be trendy, but I'll provide them some professional help. JK.
No, you should really give them a hand. Like, make it. So the authenticity is what they're after. Authenticity equals likes. Like, there's nothing that gets you more likes than on authenticity.
We have another from Shane H. Wilder. If they really wanted to, they could go into the anechoic chamber at MS at 24.9 dBs. It is so quiet you can hear your own blood flowing.
Yeah.
No one has lasted an hour without breaking down from the silence.
I would love to go into one of those just to see.
Wow.
I mean, I know that my tinnitus would be the only thing that I hear, and it would be.
You have tinnitus?
Oh, so bad.
Oh,
so
I didn't
bad.
know.
I would die in a place like that.
Constantly hear a screeching in my ears.
From your job, I assume.
From
Yeah.
being in band and being on stage with monitors directly in my ears for a decade or so. But yeah, I would love to go into one of those into those rooms and see what it's like.
How long do you think you would last in there?
35 seconds.
Really?
Like, so fast.
Less than that for me.
I think the screeching from the tinnitus would be so apparent so quickly. I'd be like,
And
get out of here.
you're not allowed to take a nap, are you?
Take a nap? I don't think you can. Well, I'm not sure about if you can or not. I wouldn't be able to because of the tinnitus. I'm sure.
If it's just silent, I think I could make it like a good amount of time.
I think that you probably have tinnitus that you have not yet realized.
How do you know that?
I don't know anything. I said I think probably, and the reason is because of how loud your headphones are. They are so incredibly loud.
No, they're not.
They absolutely are.
Well, I certainly don't have tinnitus. At least I don't have it yet. I
You're
hope
gonna
I
one
never
day.
do.
Probably one day.
My
with
headphones
this.
are not that loud.
Your headphones are insanely loud.
Okay, whatever.
All right.
I'm not going to be judged.
Let's
I'm
get
not
started.
judging. I'm telling you the truth.
Let's get started.
A group of television actors and screenwriters in the UK have penned an open letter against the UK Supreme Court's ruling that women are corresponding to their biological sex. And this will reflect in their laws going forward. Men who identify as trans women are not going to be welcome in spaces that are explicitly for women, biological females. And obviously people in the entertainment industry lean the opposite way on that specific issue, including Papa Essiedu, who plays Severus Snape in the upcoming Harry Potter HBO series, in which J.K. Rowling is heavily involved. So I wanted to go through the statement in this open letter before we continue. It's basically calling on film and television industry professionals and cultural bodies to stand in solidarity with transgender and non-binary individuals. We, the undersigned film and television professionals, stand in solidarity with trans, non-binary, and intersex communities who have been impacted by the Supreme Court ruling on April 17th. We call upon members of our industry and cultural bodies to join us. The Supreme Court's ruling that under the Equality Act, woman is defined by biological sex states that the concept of sex is binary. A person is either a man or a woman. We believe the ruling undermines the lived reality and threatens the safety of trans, non-binary, and intersex people living in the UK. The ruling states that trans women are not permitted access to women's facilities and trans men are not permitted access to men's facilities, while further suggesting that trans people may also be excluded from using facilities that correspond to their biological sex. That part isn't true. They just made that up. We believe this guidance exposes trans people to embarrassment and harassment and excludes them from participation in public life. So Embarrassment, no one cares how you feel. Harassment, that's already a crime. So if someone is harassing you, that's the crime. I'll skip some of the fluff here. The UK film and television industry is at the forefront of cultural change. Keep that in mind. They know the type of power they have over the mind of the public. In recent years, we have come together in response to the Me Too and Black Lives Matter movements to reflect upon our working practices and uplift a broad spectrum of voices in our society. We must now urgently work to ensure that our trans, non-binary, and intersex colleagues, collaborators, and audiences are protected from discrimination and harassment in all areas of the industry, whether on sets, in a production office, or at a cinema. Film and television are powerful tools for empathy and education, and we believe passionately in the ability of the screen to change hearts and minds. This is our opportunity to be on the right side of history. So this was started by Sid Strickland, a development producer at, where is that? Motive Pictures and script editor Jack Casey. But they have gotten a lot of big names to sign on to this letter, including Bella Ramsey, Harris Dickinson, Nicola Coughlan, Emma Watson, Eddie Redmayne, Emma Darcy, Papa Essiadu as well, Haley Atwell, Neve Campbell,
all the
Emma
Harry Potter
Corrin.
cast.
Yep, Ncuti Gatwa as well of Doctor Who fame. And the list goes on, but they also listed Joe Alwyn, which I thought was funny. And clearly Papa Essiadu choosing to sign his name on this petition is a targeted response to J.K. Rowling's activism on this front and her publicly celebrating the Supreme Court ruling. He is clearly taking a public stand against her ideologically. And I think it takes a lot of hubris to do so when she is so heavily involved in the project over at HBO and has the power, I would say, to take him off the series if she pleased.
How much is she actually even talking? Does she even have time to talk about Harry Potter when she's busy talking about the political things that interest her? I don't know how heavily involved she is over there.
Even if she's not heavily involved, they clearly think it's a good idea for the public to think she is.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because she's not super popular as an individual, but they do want the public to know, maybe by her own request, that she is heavily involved. And I just think he's kind of put himself in a lose-lose situation because people are either going to be mad at him for his views on the trans issue, which are insane, or they're going to be mad at him for working on a project that enriches J.K. Rowling. You cannot win with the people on your ideological side. And he's already gotten responses from people who are calling him a hypocrite for this.
Somebody says, I mean, not helping her make a ton of money would be better.
Right. Another one said, if he truly cared about trans rights, he would have turned down the role that will make J.K. Rowling even more money. Did he know who J.K. Rowling was before signing on to Harry Potter series, or he just doesn't care? This is not the win people think it is, and if he stood in solidarity with the trans community, he wouldn't be a part of this show.
No. You guys aren't thinking ahead. If you're thinking ahead, what it is that his casting has singularly been the most controversial thing about this series and caused a lot of people to say that they probably won't watch because they don't think it's right that they did a race-swapped version of Snape. So maybe he's a double agent sent on the inside to stop this show from doing well so that she'll actually make less money. Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of not too far out there. I mean, I think that it's possible.
Plus,
he knows.
Not only does he get to stop her from making more money, but he gets paid as well. So it seems like a win-win for him.
Yeah, so the people who are generally sympathetic to J.K. Rowling's views on this issue in particular have already been driven away from watching the series because of the blatant race swap that no one wanted, no one asked for. And then all of the crazy pro-trans ally people have already decided to boycott it. So your next best bet is, of course, the people in the middle who aren't aware of J.K. Rowling's views and don't care about these issues, which are chronically online. And I think there are still going to be millions of people who are willing to watch the show and give it a chance because they don't pay attention to these discourses. But I think that J.K. Rowling's views on the transgender community will hurt this show less than race swapping a very, very popular character. Yeah, so you could argue that he's not standing by his principles by making her more money. You could also argue that maybe unintentionally he's hurting the show. So in a way, see, I like that. The better version of this is to make a movie about an actor who gets in on the inside and purposely ruins something so that he can stop the creator from making more money while he gets paid in the interim.
Stop her from making pennies when she's already a billionaire.
I mean, it's like, I mean, this is, 8 years of a TV show aren't pennies for anyone. But
I mean, fair enough. But it's not going to be like, she's not going to make 100 million or 200 million off of this.
I mean, so the other thing that you would use as an argument for this is a legacy for a property is only as good as the projects that come out. So Star Wars at one time was a beloved franchise that everybody looked on fondly. Well, now what do people think of when they think of Star Wars? They think about, man, it was better back in the day, and it's ruined now. Yeah. So if he's like, look, I'm going to help take down the Harry Potter legacy from the inside by poisoning people's opinions of the latest adaptation of this series. Arguably, he's part of something that could be make or break for this property down the line if it went badly enough.
I just don't think that this one particular reboot is actually going to generate enough profit for J.K. Rowling to really matter.
Maybe it's not about money. Maybe it's about legacy.
Well,
maybe. I mean, she's already got the money. Maybe her legacy matters more to her than
her. Well, I mean, to her, fair enough. But I think that her legacy is already kind of fairly safe as the creator of Harry Potter.
Depends on who the IP goes to
but
once she dies.
You're never gonna make the crazy trans people and the crazy LGBT people. You're never gonna make them happy. Mm-hmm. So,
and she's already damaged her own legacy with the spin-offs that aren't really all that well liked. So
you mean Fantastic Beasts?
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts aren't really looked at fondly.
And then the stage plays that already race-swapped, like Hermione and other characters.
No, you'll never take away the success of what the original was.
Dumbledore being a gay icon.
Yep.
But
which
yeah,
she was
there's
all fine with all that stuff, right?
None of this is make or break for her.
No.
Her bank statements are doing just fine. An insider with working knowledge of the Harry Potter series tells Daily Mail that J.K. Rowling will not be bothered one bit by Papa Essiadu's decision and wouldn't dream of intervening to get him sacked, despite being heavily involved in the project. They say she won't care at all. She knows how powerful Harry Potter is, and it's bigger than its cast. She knows she's going to come against criticism, but she's now uncancelable. For her, it's business as usual, which is to continue to build the Harry Potter brand while supporting women's rights.
I mean, look, the position that J.K. Rowling has taken on trans people, that is the majority opinion. Most people don't, as much as the activists are loud, most people don't agree with the activists.
Yeah, they frame her as some kind of extremist, but she has said many times that she actually supports people who are over 18, people who are legally adults transitioning if they so choose to. I think that's a stupid point of view. I think it doesn't really address the whole I don't think it addresses the falsehood of transgenderism as an ideology to say that you're okay with it as long as it's adults doing it. And it also doesn't address the true motives of the adults who are transitioning, because it is intended as a way to control people, control their language and their behavior. And legislation. So
if the Tolkien estate was paid $250 million to make Rings of Power, I wonder what J.K. Rowling would see as a payment to get the, and that's for
Does
5.
she have children?
She does have children.
I wonder if they're going to be inheriting it, or if she's going to somehow
gives it to like an anti-trans charity all on the
What
way
can
out.
you really do? It's kind of like she could possibly state in her will that she doesn't want the Harry Potter brand to live on after her. But I doubt that that's how she feels. I think she wants it to continue on after she dies. Mm. But we know, based on the example of Lord of the Rings, that that's a terrible idea.
Yep. I just wonder. I would like to know what she's gonna make, for what she stands to make. So if Rings of Power was guaranteed 5 seasons and the estate was paid $250 million, what do you get for 7 to 8 seasons of a Harry Potter series, given the fact that she was already in business with Warner Brothers, which is different than what happened when Amazon went and bought the rights to, what was it, like the Silmarillion or whatever, to create Rings of Power. It's a whole thing, and it's interesting. Obviously I agree. Her legacy won't be damaged in any way, but I don't believe for a second that somebody like really, really die hard with their beliefs could be like, I could help ruin it. I don't think that's what's going on here. I think that there's just some cognitive dissonance. Or is it just simply like you can work with people you disagree with? Maybe he's just supremely rational and he's like, look, I disagree with her, but that's a big paycheck.
Well, John Lithgow basically said that, but we'll
talk about
probably
that tomorrow.
get to that tomorrow. But let's move on to some super chats.
Do it.
Shane H. Wilder said, Happy Thrashing Thursday, Brett, Mary, and Phil. I can confirm that Phil is not some earth magnetism hippie, even if Ian thinks so. LMAO, if you know, you know.
When Phil played me that clip today, I was like, was there some conversation that you and he had that would lead him to believe that you're like an earthy, meditate every day to realign your chakras kind of guy?
The most insane thing that I've ever heard him say. No.
Awesome.
Phil Woo Woo Labonte.
I want to know what his like wrong thoughts are on the rest of us. Be
Who
like
does he
him saying like,
think we
Brett,
are?
you're good at math.
I mean, maybe he knows something that we don't.
Yeah. I don't know.
I couldn't believe that he said it. He's just like, I'm with Phil. I think that, meditating so that way your magnetic center aligns with the earth. And I'm just like, what?
I do, however, believe that spiritually Ian is always bobbing his head when he talks.
Was he bobbing his head in the clip?
I have no idea, but when I imagine Ian talking, he's going like this.
Yeah, he's just
definitely
vibing with
insane.
the Earth's magnetism. Pop Culture Junkie said, I apologize. I am guilty of stealing PDF file. Sorry. I mean, as long as you give me credit from now on, now that you know I
When
made it
did
up.
you first, it would be hard to pinpoint a time. Do you remember when it first came up?
I mean, definitely on the show.
No, it was, but it was like 2023, 2022?
It had to be 2022
Yeah.
when I first started here, yeah. And I swear I never saw other people using it until after that.
I'm with you on that one.
Because I just needed a way to say it without YouTube, algorithmically flagging us.
Yeah.
Shane H. Wilder said, the Spotify ratings are coming in. Brett will not get beat today, maybe tomorrow, but today he's safe.
I look forward to the weekends, no violence.
I'm not even going to put a deadline on it because that's just how magnanimous I am.
You are so kind to me. Do one more.
I.C. Wells said, Happy May Day. Join me in my celebration of the world's worst ideology by listening to Poverty for All by Ignite sometime today. Phil will love it.
Hey, there you go. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't get it.
Poverty for All by Ignite is an anti-communist song.
Oh, okay.
Let's hold off on the rest and we'll come back after.
All right. OnlyFans star Sophie Rain recently sat down for an interview on Fox News where she spoke about her dedication to her Christian faith. And if you sense that there is an oxymoron going on here, you are definitely on the right track. I think that part of this is rage bait and part of this is just a very deep ignorance to what it means to be a Christian in this day and age. A lot of people, including a lot of self-proclaimed Christians, believe that it boils down to just being nice and polite and, it doesn't matter what you do. It's all smiles, and no matter what you do, God is going to forgive you. I think the interesting thing is I don't see her saying that she needs forgiveness for doing online sex work. She just believes that it's not wrong. And she has openly said that she believes God is happy with the success that she has found as an OnlyFans model.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about being forgiven for it
Nope.
in that clip.
Yeah, so let's play that.
Okay, here we go, guys. Refresh here.
Strong. I have a very close relationship with my church, and I love God. Like I believe that He will forgive your sins for anything, and I think that He's happy that I'm successful. I do like a little video call because I'm currently living in Miami, but I used to live in Tampa. And that's like my home church. I love that church so much, and my pastor that is there, I can't listen to another pastor. So I watch like the little Sunday video thing that they do because they live stream it on Facebook. Very strong. I have a very close relationship with my church.
I mean, yeah, okay.
Now, this particular woman doesn't actually have sex with people and sell those photos or that videos and stuff like that, right? She only takes nude and provocative photos of herself, right?
I have not done a deep dive into Sophie Rain's OnlyFans content, but from my understanding of the situation, that was a lie. She's done other things like this in the past, creating rage bait headlines. First off, talking about her Christian faith, but also claiming that she is saving herself for marriage and that she is a virgin. This is not true, because people found videos of her having sex on OnlyFans.
Is it too judgmental of me to ask, like, why couldn't you at least go in person to church? I feel very judgmental.
You know what? I feel the same way, and I think that COVID actually drove a lot of people away from church. First off, because a lot of churches were turning people away, but they also turned to live streaming mass or church services in general, and people just ended up not coming back because they thought watching it online is the same thing.
Kind of tough to receive communion.
Yeah.
Over,
yeah, as a Catholic, that especially doesn't make sense. Like, I would imagine if you're in it just to hear the preaching, it makes a little more sense, but still, it's kind of a half-ass approach to being a church attendee.
I wonder how much she donates to the church.
Yeah, of her $43 million that she has allegedly made in 1 year on OnlyFans.
I tell you what, if she does actually tithe the, the 10% that the Bible recommends, there is not a pastor in the world that's going to condemn her. I'd be willing. Well, I mean, maybe there are, but there are a lot of pastors that would be looking the other way and be like, well, the Lord forgives. Come here and
maybe if she donated it anonymously.
So
but it sounds like from what she just said, her pastor in Florida knows her and is supportive of what she's doing, that means that he is a fraud. He is a charlatan.
That's why I feel like she's actually tithing.
Who knows? I mean, yeah, it's probably going to somehow all that money she's tithing is ending up in Joel Osteen's bank account.
That's literally like the top. Somebody said that in the chat. Joel Osteen.
Yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of corrupt pastors who would happily take that money.
Somebody did do the math in the comments on the Fox article. $3.5 million a month, or 350,000 subscribers paying $10 a month.
But they're saying that means it must be a lie. It's difficult to believe, they say, that she made $43 million in 1 year on OnlyFans. They don't believe that 350,000 people would pay to see some average girl taking her shirt off. So I don't know. I don't know what to believe.
Rate that against the 8 billion people on this planet.
A lot of OnlyFans models lie about the money they make.
It's a fantastic way to like pump your brand up.
Who knows if she has some sort of shady deal with OnlyFans behind the scenes where they're going to pay her more in order to lie about the money she makes on the platform so that it's going to attract more people to sign up.
Yep.
But they say all of the articles and stories about influencers making a fortune are propaganda pieces paid for by the platforms themselves to increase traffic, which increases revenue.
Absolutely.
It's only a very, very, very few people that actually make a lot of money, right? Yeah.
On OnlyFans, yeah. I think the average earnings on OnlyFans is somewhere between $100 and $300 a month. And it takes either some sort of right place, right time, or a lot of dedication to end up being in the top percentage.
Yeah, I wonder how much of it is bad work ethic. People think that it
they think I'm gonna post a picture one time and then money will just rain from the sky.
Think about it like this: women that are moderately attractive are essentially inundated when they go on to Tinder or they go on to dating sites or they go on Instagram and they post provocative photos. They get tons of comments, tons of people, blah blah blah. So the assumption would be, I'm hot. If I just post a couple pictures of my butthole, I'll be rolling in the dough. And then they go on OnlyFans, and because they don't do anything to create a fantasy for guys, they just throw up a couple pictures thinking that they're gonna make a bunch of money by doing the easy thing. They don't get anything, and they don't actually I imagine that's what would happen because people assume that it's easy, especially as a young girl, if your experience is guys are always coming up to me, guys are always sending me messages on apps, blah, blah, blah. It makes sense that they would be like, oh, wow, this is harder than I thought. and wouldn't think that you have to put much effort into it.
I think that's why a lot of the OnlyFans creators end up hiring agencies to take up a lot of the work involved, like actually messaging their subscribers, pretending to be them, doing the custom videos and custom photos that aren't actually custom because they're preloaded into the platform. So there's that side of things. And I think that where most of these top 1% or top like 0.1% OnlyFans creators make their money is by becoming affiliates on the platform and convincing other women to join and earning a percentage of the smaller creators' earnings over time. It's not all from just organic traffic to their page and people, 350,000 people who are actual real people paying $10 a month to look at your boobs.
Everything's a little bit Amway.
It's really a kind of a pyramid scheme, and people don't address that part of it. But yeah, I imagine.
I wonder how many people got the Amway reference that I just made.
Well, it's a pyramid scheme, right?
Well, Amway was essentially kind of like that,
Yeah. But do you think that Sophie Rain is speaking out about her religious views as a way to rage bait and just get more attention, even if it's negative attention? Or do you think there's a shade of like that she really means what she's saying?
I honestly believe there's probably a shade of her buying into her own BS.
And it's not just
not purely
bait.
Rage bait. No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah,
I feel like if you were gonna make it rage bait, you'd make it even more egregious somehow. I don't know what it would be, but it was too like she came off as dumb rather than as evil. So I feel like if it was rage bait, she would be doing something different.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the egregious rage bait from her was when she lied about being a virgin. And I do think that's really sick because she knew that was a selling point to some perverted men online. And that's why a lot of other OnlyFans creators, like Belle Delphine, for example, have adopted this weird childlike image because there is, unfortunately, a market demand for that type of content.
There's a 20.
Value in You said, Mary, do you think anyone can be saved and the process is just do anything and then say you're genuinely sorry at some point? Super simply put, of course. Always wondered about this. Well, different sects of Christianity have different beliefs about what it means to be saved. And if you ask maybe a mainline Protestant, they're going to have a much different answer than a Catholic like myself. I think if you ask most like evangelical Protestants, their view is that you need to accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. It is a one-time thing that happens in your life, and that point forward, you are saved. You are guaranteed that you will go to heaven. It doesn't matter, in their view, what you do after that point. If you live a life of complete sin after that point, it has no effect on your eternal salvation.
I don't know, man.
That sounds like what she was saying.
That sounds like what she's pushing.
And she is, I think, a Protestant since she was referring to having a pastor. But Catholics do not believe that it is a one-time thing, that your salvation rather is something you approach with fear and trembling, and that your works absolutely have something to do with your eternal salvation. Thank you. So the Catholic view, to put it simply, is if you die in a state of mortal sin, you will go to hell. And that means if you have sinned in with complete volition, with complete knowledge of what you've done, complete consent to doing what you're doing, and it's a grave matter. If you're unrepentant of a mortal sin at the time of your death, that is the Catholic view that you are not saved. So they would say, if Sophie Rain died, I don't know, let's say she's filming something for her OnlyFans on a balcony and then falls off the balcony. Maybe if she asks for forgiveness on the way down to the ground, then she has a chance of of going to heaven, but if she's on the way down to the ground thinking that everything she was doing was just fine and dandy, we can confidently say she is not saved.
Okay.
So that's my view. And I think that she's more so reflecting a very common view among modern Christians that is not exclusive to OnlyFans influencers. It's something that a lot of Christians believe, which is that, you know, God is just a nice guy and he's just gonna forgive me no matter what I do, and what I'm doing isn't even that bad, so I don't even need forgiveness. Like, that's a very popular that is, unfortunately, that is a very popular view.
All right, let's go to Super Chats.
AI Shih Tzu said, based on hearing Mary review of Conclave, yes, watch The Young Pope. Mid-40s, takes the name Pius XIII, American. Everything you loved about Cardinal in Conclave and Pius XIII makes Euro Cardinals unhappy. I don't know. I heard some bad things about the young pope. Like, I'm going to have to check the parents' guide, but maybe I'll give it a chance. It sounds interesting. Hi, Phil. Training a new guy in commercial truck today. I asked him if he likes Devil Driver. He does not. Too bad. I'm in command. It's good for him.
Devil Driver's all right.
07. Yorishima Otaru said, Mary, you can try and sue for pretty much anything.
I said yesterday there should be a lawyer who has a woman named Mary who's a lawyer who has a show called Mary Sues.
Well, I mean, anyone can try to sue Brett Dasovic for his skating videos. It doesn't mean they're going to win.
Yes.
So
let's do one more.
Anti-You said, Brett, whatever you do, do not try pierogies. They are not delicious potato snacks. Please don't try them.
You are not going to get me to put my oppositional defiance disorder into play here. I'm still not going to eat your pierogies. I agree with you. They don't sound good at all.
I had pierogies just the other day.
Oh, well, all right then.
So Brett is wise to what we're doing.
Yes, it's not going to happen, guys.
Darn.
All right, let us move on.
We're going to talk about the gentle parenting trend. A lot of millennial parents identify as gentle parents because they're pushing back on the dominant parenting trends that they experienced in their childhoods. And I think that it has slid into such an extreme that there are parents who now brag about not disciplining their children for anything at all, including this one controversial TikTok mom who made a viral video about how the only rule in her household is that there are no rules.
Sounds like the intro to like a teen TV show back in the 90s.
I mean, it reminds me actually of Amy Poehler in Mean Girls, who says to the girls, I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom. And you can drink as long as it's under my roof.
Well, yeah, you give them the car keys and you're fine.
But in this example, she has younger kids, and she creates this this video, deep cleaning my house while I tell you our house rules. Let's take a look.
All right, here we go.
Deep clean my daughter's room with me while I tell you about our house rules. Because
okay, I'm sorry, but
already hate it.
This voice is just...
We're bigoted against British people.
Yep.
if my cleaning's controversial, then my house rules probably are as well.
I swear you can survive this, Brett.
Number one, you don't have to tidy. I will do that. I don't mind. I'll put your clothes away. I'll wash your clothes. That's my job. I'm your mum. I'm gonna mother you. Let me smother you. So also, if you don't like it, don't eat it. I will happily cook 4 different meals for 4 different people. I don't mind. I have girl dinner every night. I barely eat. I forget to eat. So if you guys want to go get snacks, go get as many snacks as you want. Snacks are unlimited. So you don't have any rules. You can go in the cupboards, in the fridge, whenever you want. Screen time, unlimited.
This is like some devious evil trap to try and get like kids to come hang out at her house, isn't it? This is like
there might be something sinister.
There's like she's probably, if this was a movie, she would be an evil witch who's sacrificing kids for some blood oath that she's using, and she's actually.
I think what she's admitted to is bad enough.
Have as much screen time as you want. Bedtimes, we don't have them. Half of the kids sleep with me. 4 in the bed and the little one said, roll.
Okay, I was right. This is evil.
Over. I don't mind. What else? You can live with me forever. You don't have to eat what's on your plate. You don't have to clean and tidy. You can go on your phone whenever you want. Get as many snacks as you like. I can't think of any more. Bedtimes, we don't have those. Like, we're a very lenient house. If you want to swear, swear. I say shit, you can say shit. But when we're out and about in the general public, please don't do that. They know that. They wouldn't swear in front of Nanny. That's not okay. But the rules we have in the house...
So she has one rule, don't swear in public. That's literally the only one.
The only
non-existent.
One.
The rules are
Come on,
non-existent.
Yep. You know who this reminds me of? I don't know if you guys knew people like this, but I have met a couple of girls my age who called their parents by their first names. Like, they just be like,
Greg.
Like, oh, Linda will be fine with that. Like, what?
Her name is not Linda. Her name to you is Mom.
Linda is your mom, and you just go around the house calling her by her first name as if you are equals and you are a child. I mean, did you know people like that?
I did.
People who call their parents their first names. This is just wild.
I did know a kid who was the absolute like stereotypical meme of the kid who just yelled at his mom. Like, who was just awful to his mother.
Please do your best impression.
I can't. It's just like...
With you around, of course.
Yeah, with me around. She's like, bring him Hot Pockets. She's like, leave us alone, Mom! God! Fuck! Like, and I'm just over here like...
Yeah.
Like, where were you? Raised in a barn?
Well, I mean, so how did his mom respond to that?
Literally would just ignore it. And, like, it was basically South Park. It was basically Cartman.
Did he call his mom names? Or did it stop?
It was
swearing?
like it was just swearing and yelling and
it was always the stereotype that like white kids are like allowed to call their mom a bitch.
Yeah, because they know that their mom's
they're not gonna get whooped.
Whop them.
Yeah, and you know, I think a lot of millennials think if I parent my kids this way, if I'm a gentle parent, that means they're gonna like me. They're going to treat me like an equal, like a friend. And what ends up happening is the opposite. They end up being little shits like the friend that you had.
Yep.
They take that power. You give them an inch, they take a mile.
And you don't want to treat, or you don't want to teach boys that's how women respond either.
That's true.
Because if you're a young man and you think, oh, just do everything she says and everything that she wants and never have banter, never make fun of her, it's like that won't work at all. They're gonna hate you. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't do the give them whatever they want thing
and to be
allow
fair,
them to berate you and you can't do that. That doesn't work.
His dad wasn't around, so it was kind of worse even than there was no male influence in the home to.
I mean, I don't see a male influence in the home.
If I had spoken to my mom like that, not acceptable.
Of course not.
Not acceptable in
the
household.
I scoured this woman's TikTok page. I didn't see any sign of a husband or father for the children.
Shocker.
Unless he's just conspicuously left out of her content, which, I don't know, her including all of her kids in the content makes me think that's not the case. Here were some of the comments. No food rules equals healthy relationship with food. Good on you. So just letting your kids eat whatever they want, whenever they want, is supposed to give them a healthy relationship with food and not make them morbidly obese?
No, the hope would be like at one point in your childhood, usually the first time your parents let you stay home alone and they go out for the night and then you overeat snacks and then you have an upset stomach. Hopefully that straightens you out because your parents have guided you. They're not going to let you eat whatever you want at whatever time. And then the first sign of freedom, you misbehave and it backfires on you, and hopefully that helps because if the parents are just letting you eat whatever you want, that's a problem.
Well, this is also the product of the so-called almond moms. Have you heard that term?
I think you've mentioned it before.
These are usually, I think, boomer or Gen X moms who introduced really restrictive rules about food in their households, where they kind of projected their own issues about their bodies or food onto their kids and then trained them to have a bad mentality about it.
None of the kids I grew up with dentists for parents regret it to this day. I guarantee you that.
They're called almond moms because they're the type of mom who's like, they have a snack and it's like 3 almonds. They eat one really slow. It's inspired by Bella Hadid's mom, Yolanda.
Well, no parenting trend should be influenced by the Hadids.
So she eats one almond. She's like, oh, I'm so full. Another comment said, I grew up with these kind of rules and I'm currently overweight, struggle to keep my house clean, am lazy, and sometimes without realizing it, expect things to be done for me. So you're going to create lazy, entitled, and generally dysfunctional people if you raise them without any structure. That should be obvious. I looked further into this woman's page. She also makes rage bait videos about the exorbitant amount of money she receives from the UK welfare system, including videos that are captioned, POV, Universal Credits pays you £3,000 a month to live this life.
Please tell me she's at least showing the food rather than it showing her, proving that women don't understand POV.
She's showing her kids and the places they go and all the great things they get to do.
At least she
free
understands
money from the taxpayers.
I mentioned this to Phil the other day. They're doing EBT dances at grocery stores.
Unreal.
Yup.
I saw one. I can't even believe it.
Yeah.
A whole family.
You're paying for that.
And they're like, when the $3,000 hits the bank account, and I'm like, $3,000.
The same influencer also made a video that was like, here's a house tour of my council house. And we're not British, so we don't know the meaning of these terms. But basically, it just means it's publicly provided housing from the government. The rent is paid for by either the welfare payments that you're receiving or just directly from taxpayer funds. So indirectly or directly, it's being paid for by everybody else in society for people like this to have a side hustle on TikTok where they enrage people with their bad parenting
It's perfect
styles.
Synergy.
Yeah.
It's perfect
synergy if I ever saw it.
It's perfect. They should be working middle management for a Fortune 500 company.
This is insane. So many of her comments are actually praising her, though. Like, one of them said, why do my kids love me and tell me everything? They're implying that by raising them without structure, her kids are going to appreciate her more than if she actually raised them with discipline and control.
No, and the thing about raising your kids with discipline and structure is that it means more when they don't want to tell you but trust you enough to do so. That's different than them just telling you whatever because they don't believe that you're going to do anything to punish them or hold them responsible.
Like another one said, why do my kids come to visit me all the time? They're making fun of the types of parents who wonder later in life why they have bad or non-existent relationships with their adult children. And they tend to blame those parents for the situation they ended up in by, saying, oh, well, it's because you made your kids have a bedtime.
Unreal.
Or it's because you made your kids eat the dinner that you provided for them instead of catering to them like a 5-star restaurant. So you deserve to be put in a nursing home and never see your kids again.
I literally yesterday had I just had a thought about the concept, like life was better when you said something to your parents about something not being fair and they're like, you know what? The world's not fair. Life's not fair.
Ugh.
And society was better when that was treated as an unfortunate but pragmatic truth of the world rather than something that we rail against as if we can somehow bring about fairness to everyone, which is not possible.
Here's another one. As a therapist who works with kids, your home sounds like such a safe space. They are loved and accepted and have room to make their own choices. I love this. Another one said, can you adopt me? I love the sound of these house rules. And then they say, if you raise your kids with rules, they're going to be sneaky and keep secrets from you. Okay. If you keep your child prisoner like Rapunzel, okay, yeah, I'll buy that. They might sneak out. But giving them a bedtime, not giving them unlimited screen time, which is going to fry their brain for the rest of their lives with irreparable consequences, I promise they will be thankful later on that you set those boundaries. And even if they're not, you'll still know that you did the right thing and that should be good enough.
Yep.
There's just no concept of like what it takes to sacrifice for the people that you created and brought into this world. Like, it's all about you and wanting them to like you.
Yeah.
Like, you're having kids so that you can have a personal fan club on this planet.
Not the point of it.
That is not the point.
Nope.
The point is not for them to like you. That's actually one of the best things, it sounds like, from, you know, watching your kids grow up, is that you can, and I've experienced this with my parents, you can become friends when you grow up.
Mm-hmm.
You can become friends when it's appropriate to be
Yes.
friends.
Yeah.
You don't always have to be friends.
I agree.
It's completely the wrong approach.
All right, let's go to Super Chats.
Pop Culture Junkie said, job choice, being the talent relations / PR person for the new Harry Potter series versus cleaning public toilets without a brush. I would take brushless job. Yeah, it can't be easy.
No, it'd be fun. You just have to. You can't say they're not being challenged every day to put their PR skills to use.
I mean, we would love to be brand consultants for someone like Meghan Markle.
I would love that.
That would be a blast.
I would love that. This is 20.
From Canada, from Steve DeMaria. I can't wait for the videos she's going to post after the British pound collapses. Single mothers are a curse on humanity. Well, I feel bad if it's like a situation she ended up in through no fault of her own. I also saw that she made videos saying that one of her kids is disabled, which probably has something to do with the fact that she's a welfare recipient. But it's weird to brag about it and make rage bait content with your kids' faces shown.
Yeah.
Like, that's always going to give me the ick. James Coderidis said, Phil, element of one or a bid farewell, stay metal.
A bid farewell. Bid farewell, without question. That's an easy one.
Pop Culture Junkie said, so you all define transgenderism as an ideology. I guess maybe I was speaking for the group. I see it as an ideology.
I mean, it's connected to an ideology. Just the idea of queerness is connected to an ideology.
Yes.
It's all part of gender ideology that has its own facets, and it's a very, very lengthy and in-depth discussion that most of the time I have zero interest in outside of like what it does to my favorite movies or television shows. Otherwise, if people want to talk about it, I'm like, whatever. I don't give a fuck.
Well, I mean, there's nothing to talk about. Like, you're just not.
You're just not that.
You're not.
You
like,
think you are, but you're not.
Yeah,
you're not that guy, pal.
Like that, you're just not, though. But you're not. You're not. If you're a man and you're born a man, you're not a woman. And if you're a woman and you're born a woman, you're not a man. That's just you're not. You're not. You're not.
Like that video I was telling you about earlier about the race rage baiting that was going on X with the little girl passing out gummy bears at the marathon, and they tried to make it a race issue. So in this video, this little girl, she's black and she's handing out gummy bears, and like 50 people jog by her without taking them, and they're like all white, and then finally one of them, a black woman, takes the gummies. And that's supposed to, I guess, say that white people are like unforgivably evil. Her parents then took like another thing of gummies out of like a jar to give to her to hand out to another person. Like, so unless you show me the entire video and every single pack of gummies that she handed out was to someone that looks like her, I don't want to hear it. You're race grifting and it's bullshit. And I spent about 5 minutes looking at this thread and then I just closed it. I'm like, look, life is too short. I do not care.
Yep.
You're a miserable scumbag. I'm going to move on with my life.
Yep,
and I feel the same way about most of these wedge issues. As much as we cover it on here, the second we leave this studio, I don't give it a second thought unless somebody brings it up to me. I do not care. I don't know if that's good. A lot of people, it's like when you say like, oh, I don't care about politics. Like, well, guess what? Politics cares about you. Shut the fuck up.
Damn, okay.
Like, you can't make me care.
Brett's having a little go off. Yeah. We have a 20 from Shane H. Wilder. The song leader of the band always reminds me of my dad. He earned his love through discipline, a thundering velvet hand. His gentle means of sculpting souls took me years to understand. This is what it means to be a parent. Yeah, it looks like from that woman's TikTok page, unfortunately, there's no father figure in the home.
She's never heard that song either.
Who would, introduce some level of discipline or structure. Shane H. Wilder said Tom Felton supporting Rowling and getting a behind-the-scenes role on the show just shows Slytherins are misunderstood. We're good people.
We're gonna talk about it tomorrow. We're gonna look. I put a premium on that type of loyalty. Especially given that he was the same age as the other actors, and when you're young, you're like, a lot of the older actors were like, look, she's entitled to her opinion, and kind of either sidestepped the question or said that they still like her because she gave him a job for all those years. And that was different. For the older actors, there was a different expectation of them than the kids. So Tom Felton holding his ground when everybody's telling him that he can't have that viewpoint. He might not even agree with her, but he's like, look, she gave me a job. I'm not saying he said that, but I'm assuming that his point is that there's a certain level of gratitude and it's something that he values.
Right, right. And I personally, I am a Slytherin, and I'm very misunderstood.
Charlie Stevenson says Brett is an angry elf.
You're kind of angry today.
Yeah.
What happened?
Nothing
pissed
happened.
in your cereal?
It's supposed to be cornflakes. I think.
In your cornflakes.
I think it's supposed to be specific.
Who put creatine in your cornflakes? Adam said Ian's a sea turtle in Finding Nemo. Oh my gosh, that's so true. Well, actually, no. The sea turtle in Finding Nemo is way more chill. He's a surfer dude, and Ian is intense. When he cares about something, he really cares about it. So not exactly, but at times I see the similarities. James Kodoridis said, as an Orthodox Christian, I've learned that ritual participation in the church is transformative. Rain and her nominal evangelicalism isn't authentic. I mean, I think maybe on some level she feels it's authentic, and that's probably all she has ever known as a religious expression. But she's been deeply misled, if that's the case. Shane H. Wilder said, I don't think God would be happy for her success. He would say, go and sin no more. Once saved, always saved, and prosperity gospel is such bull. Yeah, that's another thing Joel Osteen preaches, is if you pray and you conduct yourself righteously, God will reward you with money. Which is so not what the Bible says at all. We were actually talking about that on Tuesday in regard to Riley Reid. Just because she seems to be winning at life doesn't mean that she did the right thing to earn it. And usually, most of the time, when you do the wrong thing, when you do the selfish thing, you will get rewarded for it in the short term. Shane H. Wilder said, I don't think God would be... Oh, no, this was from James Kodoridis. Saw in Flames with Unearth last week. Epic show.
Sick.
With the little...
That's a tour
little
with
devil horns
Machine
emoji.
Headlining.
Shane H. Wilder said, man, if I referred to my dad by his name rather than Papa, Pop, or Pa, he would have been like, boy, come here, what did you call me? I mean, yeah, it's why would those parents even want to be called their first name? Wouldn't it make you uncomfortable if your kid, I don't know. Phil, as someone who is expecting a child, what are your predictions for the type of parent that you're gonna be? Because I guess you're never gonna know until it's really happening. But what do you think is gonna?
I'm definitely not gonna do gentle parenting.
Are you gonna be a fun dad?
I mean, I don't know. I definitely.
Are you gonna be the fun parent?
I don't know. I definitely am not afraid of being no, you can't do that because you're a child and you're dumb. And I think that I'll be comfortable saying that, probably. But I mean, I'm also I intend to teach my kid to play piano and intend to teach my kid music and stuff. So there's stuff that I intend to do with him. So I'm definitely not going to be go away, kid, you're bothering me kind of dad. You know what I mean?
You lean tiger mom.
What do you mean tiger mom?
That's what everyone says about Asian moms. They make their kids do all these different extracurriculars, get A's in school.
Yes. So as soon as you start talking about tiger mom, that's a whole different thing than me. I know that music is good for your brain.
True.
Learning music, and piano is the best way to learn music. If you're interested at all in understanding how music works, music theory works, getting even a keyboard, like a little one, is a great way to learn. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm thinking. I want to give my kid a foundation to understand that stuff. I don't intend to be like, you have to play this concerto by the time you're 6 or else I'm kicking you out. You know, like that's not my style at all. But I do think that I'll be, I don't think that I'm going to be like, do whatever you want, man, you'll be fine. Like, I'm not that guy either, you know.
How do you feel about kicking them out once they turn 18?
I don't know about kicking them out. And a lot of it, I feel like it depends on what the world's like.
True, you're not going to know until you get there.
Yeah, so like nowadays, I understand why parents would be like, maybe it's not time to boot them out. But like, if it was the 80s and you were like, get out there and get a job, like, it was definitely something that was more realistic to think that was possible for a kid that turned 18 in 1985 than for a kid that turns 18 in 2025. You know what I mean?
Also, the kid that turned 18 in 1985, like, moved out 2 years ago because he was, like, so desperate to, like, be out there on his own.
He wanted to leave home.
Teens don't feel that way anymore.
It's like we talk about the kids who just aren't getting driver's licenses. Normally, you turn 15 and you want your permit so that you can get your license the moment you turn 16.
That wasn't me. I got my permit when I was 18. I got my license at 18 and a half.
I got my permit at 15 and a half, and I got my license at 60. As soon as I could get it, I got it.
I mean, I shouldn't have been on the roads, regardless. I mean, I waited a long time, and I still was terrible at driving.
Everybody that skated wanted a license so they could go skate other places than by their home. Unless they were with people.
So they skated everywhere instead before they got a license?
I mean, unless you had friends that drove.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, I had friends that drove for some of those years, but as soon as I could get a license, I did.
Omega Red Fan said, nothing worth doing is easy. Sam Axe, Bruce Campbell, another burn notice quote.
I think the quote is actually, nothing worth doing is easy and no one likes easy more than me, but it's true. Sam Axe is one of the greatest characters in TV history. Bruce Campbell is
he's
a legend. Unfortunately, that's one of those ones where I've got a very good success rate getting Olivia into shows, but stuff blowing up constantly just doesn't interest her as much as it interests me. Watching practical explosions in the mid-2000s when they weren't doing it with CGI and they were actually blowing stuff up and driving cars off buildings.
And it was just gasoline. It wasn't even...
You kind of do this, I'm a little teapot, short and stout. You do this little hand
Well, I started doing this after the Pretzels thing.
I just noticed you doing it. I'd never really taken notice before. Dingus Khan said, Phil, what do you think of the band We Came as Romans? Daggers is my gym jam.
They're cool. Good guys. Yeah. We toured with them a while back. Good guys.
Also, Omega Red Fan, always feel free to send Sam Axe quotes or burn notice quotes. I do appreciate them.
Greg Duvier said, what is worse, communism or feminism?
6 of one, half a dozen of the other. They're literally the same thing. The point of feminism was to make women into workers for the communist revolution. So, feminism is an offshoot of communism.
But technically, doesn't feminism predate communism?
Well, no, it doesn't.
Then what year would you say each one originated?
So communism there was an evolution that created communism. I consider Rousseau, which is a guy that was a philosopher during the French Revolution. I consider him a communist. Now it wasn't articulated the way that Marx articulated communism, but he was laying the foundation. And that's why
Bill danced.
Yeah, it caught me off guard. Rousseau and his ilk created terrorism during the French Terror. They murdered a slew of people for no reason, no legitimate reason, and it was all to be ultimately free, which was the foundation for the arguments for communism. So I don't think that communism, even though modern communism that we would understand as communism is actually Marxism, the foundation for communism and socialism was laid before Marx. Marx wasn't particularly innovative. Like he took a bunch of ideas that existed and kind of correlated them and put them in the Communist Manifesto, but these ideas weren't like it wasn't an innovation for him. He was just kind of correlating the ideas.
Then when would you say feminism originated?
I think feminism started in the early, very, very, very late 1800s or early 1900s after Marx.
I see.
So.
All right. Brian Bledsoe said, I got the Amway reference and was a part of it. Sorry for your loss.
Condolences.
I have. Can I be honest? I don't know what. I don't get. I didn't. Was it like some type of pyramid scheme or something?
Basically, yeah.
Okay. What were the products?
So it's like Mary Kay for men or something.
Well, no, they had all kinds of stuff. They had like a lot of cleaning stuff.
Okay.
A lot of like dish detergent cleaners and stuff. But then it's like expanded where you could get a boatload of different stuff, I think.
My mom sold like Jaffra, which was like a Midwest version.
Jaffra.
Which was like a Midwest version of Mary Kay. Yeah.
Never heard of that one.
Yeah. I'm sure it's long out of business now.
Red Snow said, new phone, who dis? Also, praise be to Space King.
Who's Space King?
It's us.
We are Space King.
Oh, okay.
Carnell said, last week I submitted a request for a chopped and screwed version of the Crisis Party song. I'm now requesting a remix. I like my suitcase screaming vocals by Phil and Let's Go tuned to Baron's voice.
Bro, how much time do you think I have
hearing
in the day?
this?
Yeah.
Maybe we should just use AI. That's what Tim's doing.
That's what he would say.
James Coderidis said, too easy, eh? Last Serenade or End of Heartache?
Probably the End of Heartache.
Pop Culture Junkie said, I've done a fair amount of brand consultant work. If you have an evil client and a 1-year no-cut contract, it's medieval thumbscrews level torture. Tell us more. I want to know.
He has the most Pop Culture Junkie has had the most interesting life.
Yeah.
You should write like a book, or at least have like a coffee table book of like your best stories.
Pop Culture Junkie should be a motivational speaker.
I agree.
Red Snow said, Phil, thoughts on the Trivium BFMV tour? Thinking of going to the DC show. Full album tours seem like a big undertaking. I Am the Law, love some Anthrax.
I'm very fond of the Bring Me the Horizon guys, and Trivium's a band.
It says BFMV though, not
Bullet
BMTH.
for My Valentine. What? BFMV is Bullet for My Valentine, not Bring Me the Horizon.
So then why did you say Bring Me the Horizon?
Oh, did I say Bring Me the Horizon?
Yeah.
I thought I said Bullet for My Valentine. My bad. I apologize. Bullet for My Valentine.
Hey.
Yeah, that was.
I feel attacked.
No, I totally thought that I said Bullet for My Valentine. But yeah, the guys in Bullet for My Valentine, they're good dudes, and Trivium is a band.
Oh, Shane H. Wilder said, is Brett doing I'm a Little Teapot or Itsy Bitsy Spider? Seems more Itsy Bitsy Spider. You're correct. This is the Itsy Bitsy Spider, not I'm a Little Teapot. Different.
Yeah.
David Aramond said, Phil, early 2000s metal, Freedom Call and Hammerfall.
I don't know Freedom Call, but I know Hammerfall.
Ryan Bledsoe said, you want to dance, Phil? Don't fight it.
I think I saw it creep in there just a little bit. Phil was like, he wanted
You're
to dance
suppressing
for a
the
second.
urge
That's okay.
to dance.
The song will change soon enough.
We will hang out till 5. Somebody asked what my favorite season of Burn Notice was. Probably season 2, with Carla, Trisha Helfer as like the big bad that led to management. And then oddly enough, season 4, because I think Kobe Bell is probably the best example of like a late series add to a show that actually made the show better. I think Burn Notice actually did improve quite a bit once they got him in there to play off of Sam. So Michael and Sam weren't always, it kind of mixed up the dynamic a little bit. My least favorite part of the show is kind of honestly anytime Nate was on. Whenever his brother was there, I was like, gosh, get him off the screen. Seth Peterson is a great actor, but my gosh, that was always torture.
Adam said, difference between a gentleman versus simps. I think a lot of people find chivalry to be the same thing as simping these days, and that's really unfortunate.
I think there's there's like a chasm of difference between a gentleman and a simp. And if you don't see the distinction, you need to watch some James Bond movies.
Is he chivalrous? Is James Bond chivalrous?
I wouldn't say chivalrous, but he's a gentleman.
What's the... I guess I thought of them as, the same thing.
I don't think they are.
James Bond is like definitely not.
He's a womanizer.
He's a womanizer.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that he's not a gentleman.
I mean,
I
I
don't
was
think it's
thinking
very
of, like,
gentlemanly to be a womanizer.
I mean, I rewatched Casino Royale fairly recently, and he seduces the dude who he plays poker with's wife so that he can get that's not,
work though.
Yeah, like he was on the job, right? He was working, and then he just leaves her in the hotel room. He does he seduces her and then doesn't even do anything. He just leaves her. Probably left her with the hotel bill.
Well, look,
he had places to be.
The reason
he go to that airport.
The reason he was able to seduce her is because he knows how to act like a gentleman. If he didn't,
so it's a facade.
it's not necessarily a facade, but it's a behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can act in a certain way. Maybe with James Bond it is, because James Bond is, he's a spy, so he's got to be able to move through different kind of context and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a simp, you're definitely the absolute opposite of James Bond.
You know what? I think maybe the difference between a gentleman and a simp comes down to this. A gentleman does gentlemanly or chivalrous things because it's the right thing to do. And a simp does those things, and maybe more, with the hopes of getting laid.
That means that James Bond is automatically chivalrous because he's doing it for Queen and Country.
I feel like a gentleman unquestionably tell a woman no, and a simp can't.
That's true. Because if he's not looking for anything from her in the first place.
Well, I mean, if you're a gentleman, you'll even when a woman if a woman were to throw herself at you, and it's you're with another woman or she's with a man, gentlemen should be like, no, stop, no, this is unbecoming, etc. Whereas a simp would be like, okay, I think that there's a chasm of difference between a gentleman and a simp. Chasm.
Yeah. I guess also a simp only does nice things for women that he finds attractive, and the rest of them are
Yeah, you never see James Bond save a fat chick.
It's like that one time when you held a door open for a woman who scolded you and said, what is it?
It's like, next time you hold the door open for a perfectly able-bodied woman, just remember she can do it herself. I'll never forget that. That was in 2009.
But you didn't stop holding the door open for people because it's the right thing to do.
And I don't do it just for women. I'll hold the door for literally anyone. My favorite, though, is when you misjudge how fast they're walking and you make eye contact and they're walking really slow and you've now committed to holding the door for a period of time. That's just awkward enough for the both of you that you have to engage in some type of rudimentary conversation to fill the awkward period of time.
Hey, how you doing?
Move your ass. That's the thing you say. Let's go. Come on.
And to the example, you shouldn't let someone's horrible reaction change your behavior, because in the however many years, the 15 years since then, 16 years since then, I've never had anyone be anything other than courteous, or at the very least, maybe look at their phone and not notice it. But I don't really think about that. Almost everyone says thank you. I still think back to that scene in that movie. What was it? The American Society of Magical, where he holds
Pinot Grigio,
where he holds the door for and the 12 people walk out.
Yeah.
And none of them say thank you
because they're white.
And here's the thing: if that had been me, I wouldn't have cared if nobody said thank you, because it was still the right thing to do.
Yeah.
The other thing the other thing that happened to me the other day, I walked out of a side room at a Dollar Tree, and somebody asked if I worked there. Not offended.
Well, they asked. They didn't just assume out of nowhere.
They're do you work here? I was like, not offended. I was like, in my sweatpants. I'm like, doesn't say much about the workers here if they're just but I'm a huge supporter
that
of the
just
Dollar
means
Tree.
that you look like you know your way around.
Yes.
The Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
You're confident. Red Snow said, Trivium guys ain't cool, Phil. Kinda sad to hear. No comment. They're trying to bait you into talking shit. Brian Bledsoe said, actually, my Amway experience wasn't bad because I'm a truck driver. I just didn't have the time.
Fair enough. That's cool.
Pop Culture Junkie said, I've had a great life, have great friends, have a light freelance load to enjoy you folks 2 hours a day. What the F do I have to complain about?
Amen.
Yeah.
That's
Love that.
Love
This
that.
is just a very positive chat.
Absolutely.
Omega Red fan said, Sam, it's funny. You never really know a car until you drive it through a wall. Season 3, Burn Notice.
Is that so? I like the one where Mike has to run from Carla and Sam's car gets put through the ringer because his ex took back the Cadillac and he had to buy like a Buick, and then the car's just beat to shit and he's like, he gets out of the car and Mike's like, we gotta go, and he's like, yeah, the car's kind of identifiable now, and Sam goes, I just need a minute. Okay, let's go.
It's been like, if I had to count, probably 15 years since I watched an episode of Burn Notice.
It's just it's so good.
I've never seen it.
It's so good. It's so worth
I
your
don't
time.
remember it being that great. I
It's so
really
good.
liked the Hawaii Five-0 reboot.
Yep, I like that one too.
I really liked
Burn
that.
Notice was less formulaic than the Hawaii Five-0 reboot. Like, how many times?
Yeah, then you had to like keep up with where things were going, like episode to episode. Hawaii Five-0 was just like, it was self-contained. Didn't matter if you had to watch them in order.
I'll always love it because him and Scott Conn. I joke that Scott Conn, he's a shorter actor, but he's got the greatest posture in the history of mankind, so he looks taller than he is, or he makes himself look taller by standing up straight backed.
Oh, you know what
The
else?
guy who plays Danny.
You said you liked Major Crimes, but I liked The Closer. Personally,
I got through about 5 episodes and then just never. Maybe I need to give it another. It's more law based, right?
I don't remember really, but it's not like
anything courtroom based.
It's not like
I hate.
in depth.
Like
it's not like it's still they go to the crime scene, they do interrogations, and you know
Maybe
all
I'll
of
have
that
to give
stuff.
it another shot. I don't have Peacock anymore, so I can't watch it.
I just think that Brenda is a more likable character.
She's definitely less of a straight man than what's her name is.
What's the redhead's name?
With
the glasses.
The actress's name is like it's like, what is it, Mary McDowell or something, but I forget the character's name. I only know what's his name.
And then her annoying son Rusty.
Rusty is the worst person you've ever met in your entire life.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be watching Major Crimes because he ruined it for me.
What is her?
I like Brenda's accent and the fact that she has her one vice is like eating chocolate.
Good for Mr. Muffin Man says Justified was my show. That and Veronica Mars. Yes, first season was great. Yeah, Veronica Mars was awesome too. I will not accept any Veronica Mars slander here. That show was amazing.
Do you think I would like it?
What? A helping hound says no. Burn Notice is not a lawyer show. We were not talking about that. We were talking about the closer.
But no, they still, it's the same as any other. They do like go to crime scenes and it's not legal jargon.
If you want to see like a more unhinged version of that character, but as a cop, watch the show Saving Grace with Holly Hunt. And it's I can't explain it, but it's the grimiest, dirtiest show in the most PG way that you've ever seen. Meaning, like, all of the cops in the show are just really, really grimy people, but not bad people. Like, every episode, they're drinking and smoking cigarettes to excess, and it's weird. But there's something about it where I can only watch it a few episodes at a time.
It just gives you
it's just something like
grimy
you literally
feeling.
need to go take a it's not like it's
You
violent
need to go shower.
or gory. It's not. It's, if anything, it's just like every other procedural. But something
The show
about it
smells bad.
The show smells like it's humid in there.
You have smell-o-vision.
Yeah.
I just checked our ratings on Spotify again. It looks like 12 people in the meantime, while we've been live, have gone and given us a rating, which I much appreciate.
Thank you so much.
But we're still only at 872.
Fix that.
So that's a problem, and that needs to be fixed. I'm really bad at math, but like a lot more.
Olivia Claire says cannot stand that show. Yeah, I tried to get her to watch Saving Grace. She's like, yeah, not it.
Brian Bledsoe said gentleman/simp topic should be a standalone video.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get to that at some point down the line. That's a good idea.
Phil, what was the stuff that was going on about Sleep Token? That
What
you
stuff
posted
is going on?
like they were like dunking on the new album.
Okay, so I have a significant personal issue with a lot of the metal blogs. When it was cool to be a leftist, they were extremely leftist. There were multiple blogs that were extremely leftist, and they were basically attacking. They were, right involved with the cancel culture. They were attacking anyone that had the wrong politics. I was obviously one of those people. They were trying to get my label to drop us and all kinds of things. So I have a problem with these metal blogs in the first place. And they were criticizing Sleep Token's new song, and I was just
what new song?
I forget the name of it. Not Caramel, the one that came out after it. And Sleep Token's one of
Damocles?
I think it's Damocles. Yeah. Sleep Token's one of a handful of bands that have come out in the past, honestly, 10 years that I think have done anything even remotely close to innovative. I think they're really, really good. Vessel's a great singer. They put together really cool songs that are not your cookie cutter sandwich, or cookie cutter structure. They're different. They're creative, and I think they're a really great band. And to see these metal blogs, which are populated by the most garbage people that have done nothing positive for the metal community at all they've done is encourage people to cut down other metal bands that don't have the right opinions, and they've done nothing but harm the metal community. To see them, slandering Sleep Token just rubbed me the wrong way. So I was like, F these guys, they're garbage, and you should hate them all, and they should all get cancer.
What are the claims?
They just were like, oh, Sleep Token's new song kind of sucks. And then I was like, well, you guys suck at everything, and I hope that your family has
it wasn't even politically motivated.
No.
Said
it
the
was,
song sucks.
Yeah. And because they said something, like I just saw it, and I was like, well, you're in no position to talk because you're literally some of the worst people in the music industry. And I hope terrible things happen to your family.
They have a song called "Do You Wish That You Loved Me" that I've been listening to like nonstop.
They're great.
Yeah.
They're really, really good.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to listen.
It
to
sounds like Sam Smith and K.I. Theory put together. It's it's very interesting. Like at other times they have very heavy songs, but then they have some that song like very, very good above average pop mixed with industrial metal.
Really, really good. Really creative sounding.
It's almost hard to define them with the genre.
Which is exactly why I say they're one of a handful of bands, or one of the very few bands that have actually done something creative and done it well in the past 10, 15 years, So
Red Snow said, okay, the people suck, but do you at least appreciate the music? I think the first 5 albums are good. Down from the Sky and Ember to Inferno still go hard. Says nothing while Money Gun goes off. All right. Smile and wave, boys. Shane H. Wilder said, Blessed John Henry Newman has an excellent definition of a gentleman. It's too long to chat, but worth looking up.
What was that now? Who is it?
Blessed John Henry Newman. We'll look that
up. So in the chat, Angry Shellback says, there's a storyline for the reboot of Hawaii Five-0. Woe Fat, Kono, and Adam, and Steve's mom. So back in the day, the Woe Fat storyline comes and goes. Like it's a couple of times.
It's been too long.
It's a couple of times a year, right? Adam and Kono, yes. So back in the day, I was poor and I would just torrent shows. And I just didn't have the season that was all about...
Statute of limitations.
Yeah, they can't get me on this now. I just didn't have the season that had Steve's mom for like a very long time, so I never saw the Christine Lottie episodes.
Why wasn't that available? It was just randomly like...
No, it was there. Probably just weren't enough people like seeding the torrent to download properly. But eventually I got it later. But you are correct. There were ongoing stories, but in general, it's a case of the week structure every episode. The day that what's his name mentioned alt-right, I stopped watching. The day I heard alt-right in that show, I turned it off and I said, kick rocks.
I definitely dropped off before that ever happened. Okay.
What was is there a show on Cinemax or Showtime called Shameless?
I never watched Shameless, but it does exist.
There was one episode where I was watching the show and I was actually enjoying it for a while, and then one day they had an episode where there were Antifa characterized as the good guys getting into a fight with some other, I think, bikers that were probably meant to imply Proud Boys or whatever. And as soon as they did that, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to stop watching this. Because I know for a fact Antifa, the people that were burning down businesses and stuff during 2020 summer were not the good guys.
You want to see some crazy? Watch. Go with me on this. Watch like the first 8 seasons of Blue Bloods. There's an episode where Nikki, who is the granddaughter of the police commissioner, who is Tom Selleck's character, is the star of the show. She goes to college and becomes friends with this girl who talks about social justice and cis white men. Oh, God. And then like she gets her dorm room vandalized and it says like "Get out, commie bitch," and you find out that she did it to herself to get sympathy because she's so enamored with helping other people that she's just nuts.
Real.
There's more than a few episodes that have that, and they call out like the Reverend Al Sharpton types in that show. The first 8 seasons of that show were really good at showing. They kind of fell behind on like the body cam stuff. They have like he has this point where he talks about like when an officer's word isn't enough, like society's kind of lost. Now everyone's like, no, give them the body cams so that there's no doubt.
I agree with that.
The point in that episode, when it's masterfully done, is that an officer gets into a fight with a pedestrian and the body cam breaks. And now everyone's calling into question what he did because somebody caught the tail end of it, right? And they make this a non-race issue by having it be a black officer and a black criminal, and then it's recorded from someone. So eventually the video comes out that proves that he didn't do anything wrong. But the point of the episode was to be like, well, if we can't trust the officers, we've lost as a society. Nah, give them the body cams. Mm-hmm. I don't trust anyone with that much power in general, so give them the body cams.
Carnell said, Brett, I wouldn't assume you'd have time to produce the Crisis Party remixes. I still imagine that you have resources like Carter Banks to assist you. We should update it. Like it is.
We can ask him.
It's time, but I'm not inspired.
We're getting to a third Crisis Party, guys.
Pop Culture Junkie said, love Veronica Mars. Have a script signed by the entire cast. Got it from UPN VP when Kristen Bell had to cancel a planned appearance in Houston.
That's awesome. I do love that show, and most of those actors are really, really great. I loved it when the character who played was it Logan goes on to be in iZombie as the guy who runs Fillmore Graves, the zombie military private military company.
Red Snow said, all right, point taken, Phil. Do a show in the Gongo.
For the Gongo.
A benefit concert?
How could I say no?
Hell yeah. Matt Gingell said, check out Umphreys McGee. You may really like Wizard's Burial Ground or Remind Me. Their mashup album is amazing too. I haven't heard of it. Pop Culture Junkie said, I won a regional Emmy Award for a local promo for the original Hawaii Five-0 reruns.
Nice.
Damn.
Is that real?
I didn't know about regional Emmys.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Oh, okay. Adam said, is the Gongo in the jungles or deserts?
I imagine it in the jungle. I don't imagine it in the deserts because I think of the Congo.
Right. I imagine a tropical sort of climate.
Tropical hellhole.
But also like lots of swamps and bogs. Things that you can easily like perish if you fall in. Lots of dangerous animals.
I do think, Mary, that it would be interesting to get your perspective on Blue Bloods because they definitely Hollywood Catholicism to a certain extent.
What does that mean?
Because the family,
like in a bad way.
So the family are practicing Catholics, and church is a very big part of their lives.
Okay.
There's definitely like episodes where they. How would I bring this up? So
were they
basically Frank talks about how like discussing gay marriage, and the church wants him to renounce comments that he made, and he can't do it because he's like, look, it's none of my business if my officers. They definitely try to. He says to like someone from the church, he's like, out of all the issues, to not change with the times on, and that's being subtly done.
And what year?
2013.
So before the Supreme Court.
Probably,
ruling.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. That might have been a little bit later. But,
yeah, but it is also realistic.
Yes, it is.
To put that in the show. So I don't disagree with
there's
the
a great
decision to put it in
scene
the show.
where him and this guy that Frank is having a meeting with are arguing, and then they get done with their argument. He goes, "I'm not leaving. I swore off steak for Lent. I'm staying until this meal is done."
High Voltage 75 wants to know who is your favorite Looney Tunes character. Now I forget which ones are which. Do you guys have answers?
I don't have an answer.
Let me see. Bugs?
Yeah.
Okay, Bugs.
I will go watch Space Jam again tonight, though.
Bugs or Marvin Martian, actually.
Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Elmer Fudd, Porky Pig, the Tasmanian Devil, Foghorn Leghorn, Sylvester the Cat, Tweety Bird, Yosemite Sam, Marvin the Martian.
Yosemite Sam.
Okay, personally, I guess Tweety Bird because he's the cutest. Or Bugs Bunny. But probably Tweety Bird. You asked that twice, so.
And there is one more here.
From Red Snow. Brett, does it count as new IP if the movie is based off an old book? Talking about the movie Anyara movie I brought up the other day.
So the discussion people were having when they were saying that Sinners was the most successful original movie in the of this decade was done under the premise that it can't be based on a book, because otherwise Oppenheimer would have been the most successful movie based on new IP, but that was based on a book.
Yeah.
American
Techniques in the
Prometheus.
chat said that his favorite character is Dylan Mulvaney.
Well, he is Looney
Tunes. Good one, sir. Good
all right,
one.
we're all caught up on the Super Chats.
I would say that it can't be based on a book if it's going to be new IP. That's what I would say. All right. One more there from Pop Culture Junkie.
The Coyote, I have a metal sculpture of him chasing the Roadrunner in my apartment.
There you go.
We need an apartment tour.
All right. All right. Phil, where can they find you?
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. Our new record called Anti-Fragile dropped on January 31st. You can check it out on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, and Deezer. Don't forget the Left Lane is for Crime.
Perfect. Mary.
You guys can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived. I also want to mention that I am going to be on Timcast IRL tonight, so you can tune in there. Shane H. Wilder said, I posted the definition of gentleman and tagged y'all for anyone who wants to read it later. Thank you. I'll be checking that out.
All right, guys. If you want to follow me, Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. We are here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is noon Pacific. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify if you'd like to listen rather than watch the show. If you want to rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, as Mary said, we want to get those Spotify reviews to over...
I'll hold you to it. We went over 1,000. We're currently at 872.
All right. And if you want to follow the show on social media, Twix at popculture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Mary, there's one more there. We're so close to the third Crisis Party.
Red Snow said last, by the way. I guess that is the last one.
All right.
Farewell.
Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see y'all then.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.